Welcome back, Vegas Day Drinkers podcast numero 7.
Wow, we're just really getting up there in years.
I know.
Episodes.
We're calling this one just
A Bit Outside.
the title. Here we are. I'm one of your hosts, Chris.
And Darren Benjamin. Happy to be here.
Happy Wednesday. Let's talk some Vegas things. Quick overview, just to hit the highlights before we get into the subject breakdowns. Let's talk Circus Circus. Let's talk college football playoffs. Let's talk day drinking in Boulder City. Let's talk the inauguration for a quick second. And finally, paying homage to a baseball legend, Bob Uecker.
And we're going to do a quick recap of one of our favorite shows, but you'll see at the end.
Yes, where everyone knows your name.
Where everybody knows your name.
So anyway, how's it been? It's been a few days.
It's been Jaegerific. I told myself that I wasn't going to drink any more Jaeger because of the sugar, and I said, after this week, just till I can slim down, I'm trying to fit into my bikini before the summertime.
What's wrong with the magical German elixir?
I don't really care, but it's got 2.6 grams of sugar per shot. Jameson only has like 0.44. Vodka has even less, so I just need to kick that out just for a little bit. Gotcha.
Everything in moderation is okay, but when you drop 10 a night, it's probably not a good idea.
I'm going to switch to Fernet.
Fernet, there we go. So, without the sugar as much.
Yeah.
So how's work been for you?
Yeah, airporty, worky. Yeah, nothing crazy.
Yeah? Okay.
I have the easiest, I wouldn't even call it bartending. It's just, I'm working a beverage cart currently, and it's very less glamorous than what I've been doing for most of my career.
So let's talk two things that happened Monday. Quickly, the inauguration. If we want to moderate on that in the industry of which we work is if it truly becomes no tax on tips. I think we mentioned that in a previous episode. I truly don't think that's going to happen. But that led to a conversation that you and I had about was Professor G's podcast.
Professor G, yeah, Scott
and just
Galloway.
The tipping culture. What do you think about that?
You know what? I think the less said, the better, because the more you put it into the zeitgeist, because there's obviously owners that see what we're making on credit cards and statement. They know exactly what they're making, and they want that for themselves. Then I think also in the zeitgeist of like everybody has a tip cup out now, people are kind of getting exhausted by it. So I think silence is the best policy on this, because the more you put it out there, I believe that if they do enact this policy, no tax on tips, that will greatly reduce the amount of tips we get, because I think people will be like, why should I tip you? You're not going to even pay taxes on it. I got to pay all my taxes, and you don't have to pay any. So it would be a huge blowback. That is terrible as far as I'm concerned. I think in Vegas would probably be all right, but like you're talking small town America, those people will get decimated by this, and that's my personal opinion.
Obviously, it's a subject that I tread lightly with my size 16s because of most of my adult life, I've made the majority of my income through gratuity. Now, I understand that, whenever my parents ask me what they should tip when we're out together or whatever, what have you, I'm never going to tell them what not to tip. But to your point a moment ago, when, you go to the convenience store and they have a tip bucket out and they literally just charge you for your soda fountain drink or whatever you're getting.
Yeah.
What was the real bonus add there? And I struggle with that every time because, of course, I'm not going to tell you not to tip, but I mean, what did they really do? Do they know your name? Did they make the drink special? Did they chill the ice for you? Whereas, in the service industry, hospitality restaurants, of which you and I have both worked for a long time, we're the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and the psychiatrist, where we build these relationships. And obviously, how can I sit here and, live in a glass house and throw stones? But I like to think that I bring a little more value to the guest interaction.
Yes, and that is what we're getting at here. I think, when you're everyday McDonald's and, I get Starbucks. Starbucks used to be a place where their motto was for their lobby was like the second home, where everybody they know your name. You go, it feels like it's supposed to feel like home. Everybody's supposed to be friendly. That's why you tip there. When you go into Starbucks, they know your name. They know what you drink typically. If you get the same thing, and that's why you would tip at a Starbucks. But like you just said, when it's at a convenience store, it's getting a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think just people, it becomes ad blindness, right? Because you go somewhere and before you're even prompted for the total, it's you a prereq 18%, 20%, or 25%.
The worst experience I ever had in a restaurant was that I went to, it was downtown Disney. It was the Ballast Point restaurant. You order everything online, then the food runners bring it to you. But before you even can get your food, you have to pay for it. And they are asking for gratuity before you even receive anything. And I feel that's wrong. I couldn't even get a refill on my soda. They brought the food, they brought whatever we asked for, but that was it. And they, right up front, they asked for a tip. And I'm like, that's terrible because you're not going to give good service at that point. I'm sure there's people that do provide excellent service there, but I think there's definitely, there just needs to be a little bit of change in the industry, I believe.
Yeah. And to that point, I've said this before, there's a place that I enjoy going in fall that focuses on Oktoberfest. I won't say the name specifically, but, when I like to go have said beer at said establishment, and the bartender literally just pours the beer and goes and stands in the corner. And mind you, the beer is now $25 before tax.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to sit there and, reconnoiter another 25%.
I think you hit the nail on the head, though. You need to, it's about providing service. If you are the psychologist and you're friendly, you have a conversation, that's where the tip comes into play. And I really think that this demand for tips before service is rendered needs to go away, so that would be my thing. And that's about all I got on that.
So that's our variation of the inauguration. There was another event on Monday.
I bet you there was a lot more alcohol consumed on inauguration day.
I bet you there was also, and I bet you there's a lot more alcohol consumed in Mark Andrews, the tight end for the Baltimore Ravens, after he dropped that catch to tie the game Sunday. But that's the pro football as we go into championship weekend this weekend. But
Chris Hines is a Kansas City Chiefs fan. For those of you that don't know, he grew up in that area, so yes. You're very hopeful this week.
I tell people every day at the airport that, I went to a lot of games at Arrowhead before they were good. So enjoy the time in the sun. That's what I say.
Exactly.
But for the first time ever, we had the college football championship where 12 teams whittled down to one. Ultimately, Ohio State winning Monday night over Notre Dame. What in the first half to me looked like was going to be a blowout actually became a pretty good game in the second half. Now, I don't sit at the home office in Indianapolis where the NCAA is based, but I'm thinking that they just made out like bandits with the commotion they created.
For the playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously every sport does it, so why not? Like the old bowl system was just kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. Yeah. So now literally the best team will win.
You obviously have your conversation, but it was the 8th seed and the 7th seed. So again, it's a tricky system, but these guys just want more money than ever too. And now with the NIL and college sports and everything, you have a lot of the purists, and I can completely understand their point of view about how it's ruined the game. But in the same time, it's evolving, I guess. Now,
me, I'm not a huge sports fan, but I was rooting for the Fighting Irish just because they sucked the whole time I worked at the Irish pub. So it was it would have been kind of nice to see the Fighting Irish win.
And then Vegas announced yesterday, as that college football playoff, I believe, was in Atlanta, that we will be host in 2027. So that will be at Allegiant Stadium. So that's a big deal for the city. That should be outstanding.
That's going to be great. Yeah, I think the Super Bowl was a lot of fun. So why not bring in the college kids? Wouldn't it be cool if UNLV won it that year?
It would be. They were right there on the cusp this year. It's just
what a change. If going from playing at the Silver Bowl, which if you've never been to the Silver Bowl, it is a freaking dump, and I can imagine it wasn't easy playing there. But now they're playing in a state of the art facility. So
that's a great
morale's probably way higher with the team, and you can see that because they are getting better every year.
Well, it's a great recruiting tool because you're a college recruit and you come into an NFL ready stadium and all your home games are at Allegiant. That's a lot more schmancy.
Well, and I don't know if they make money off the booze, but $20 a beer, that provides a little more money for the football program too.
This is true. It was also announced recently, since we've been to you last time, that Phil Ruffin, who bought Circus Circus in 2018 or 19, I believe, for $800 million, has speculated that he'd like $5 billion for it.
He wants $5 billion for Circus Circus.
Yes, because it sits on 102 acres in what he's describing as the very hot north end of the strip.
I'm thinking that's a little ridiculous, but hey, rich people gonna rich people.
That's right, but 102 acres is a lot of space to do something. I can only imagine that Circus Circus, that's just shy of 60 years old, would be in fact imploded just like the Tropicana to make room for something.
Oh yeah,
City-esque.
Yeah, that's all the rage nowadays is like these mega complexes that you don't even leave because everything you have is right there. And if you put now we know with Park MGM putting the stadium right next door, you have a whole city of entertainment right there.
Yeah. Did you see that Bob Uecker passed recently?
I had heard that, yes.
Yes. So obviously from Major League fame, longtime announcer for the Milwaukee Brewers, and then, of course, Mr. Belvedere.
Did you know, here's a fun Milwaukee Brewers fact. They were a team in Seattle for 1 year prior to their moving to Milwaukee. They were the Seattle Pilots. And in true today's fashion, the Seattle Pilots wanted a stadium built, and the city refused. So they said, well, we'll take our team elsewhere.
Well, before I tell you a Bob Uecker story, segue to your Seattle Mariners. Did you see that Ichiro Suzuki is going in first ballot Hall of Fame?
Yes, I did, which is amazing.
First Japanese-born player, I believe, to do that.
Yeah, he's breaking all the records.
So obviously, Darren has his component of the show, and I have mine, and I bring more of the sports component. And I was recently watching Rich Eisen, and he was recounting how he had Al Michaels on his show back in 2020. And Al Michaels was talking how brilliant Bob Uecker was. And many years ago, he was saying he believed that they were in Houston calling a baseball game. And it was Howard Cosell, Al Michaels, and Bob Uecker.
Wow.
Yeah. And Howard Cosell was not as baseball forward as he was with the football component.
Yeah.
But Bob and him were going back and forth at a bit of like a bunting situation setup. And Al Michaels is sitting there, and he's like, obviously Mr. Cosell was wrong, and Bob was trying to be hedging him towards the right way. But, Howard picked up on his aggressiveness, and he goes, Yuki, are you being a bit truculent? He goes, excuse me? He goes, in fact, Bob, do you know what truculent means? And Bob Uecker deadpan goes, yeah, of course, Howard. He goes, if you had a truck and you let me borrow it, it's a truculent.
That is classic. That's perfect. You know what the scary thing is, Chris?
What's that?
That many of the 21-year-olds listening right now, if they are, have no idea what you're talking about. They're like, Bob Uecker, like, who the hell's that?
Yeah. It's called YouTube, kids.
Yeah, look it up. Or watch Major League, which is probably the thing he's most famous for. I mean, unless you're a Brewers fan.
Yes. So
and his what was the beer commercials he did back in
Miller Lite
in the 70s and 80s?
Miller Lite.
Yeah, Miller Lite.
With those sports coats and that look.
Oh yeah, those tweed sports coats.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
So last week, Darren did not make it with us, but another friend of ours, Andrew.
I was there in spirits.
He was there in spirits. We took a little 3-hour tour down to Boulder City. My wife surveyed Andrew and I.
Right back and you'll hear a tale of a picnic trip that started on a. I don't remember the rest.
And I think the part of the spectacular nature of what we're trying to do here is, Andrew's been to Boulder City before, but he hasn't experienced it like in the way that we presented it, and we weren't doing anything truly unique. It was just a matter of getting out of your comfort zone for the day. And so we went to Backstop, which you and I have been to.
Yes.
The Dillinger.
The Dillinger is excellent.
Which you and I have also been to. And apparently one of the best burgers in Las Vegas. Now, at that point, I was holding off for something we're going to talk about in a moment.
The Backstop or the Dillinger?
The Dillinger.
Okay.
I don't believe the Backstop has food other than like just snacks on the back bar. But the Backstop is a bar that opened in 1932.
Yes.
And there's definitely elements in there that still look like it's 1930s.
The bar itself is amazing. The back bar.
Yes.
It's from LA. It's from turn of the century. It's beautiful. It's one of the, I love architecture, and it literally is one of the most beautiful bars I've ever seen. You go in those old hotels, like if you've ever been to downtown LA, if you go into those old buildings and they have stuff that's been there for 100 years, especially the bars, they're all handmade and they're just beautiful.
Yeah. But no, it's a great getaway. They've got darts. They've got pool tables. I mean, I know at an elementary level, just like what makes it so great. But to the point is, within 10 minutes of sitting in there, Andrew's just, he kind of has this look of awe on his face. And he's just like, and he thanked us and he said, thanks for making me do this. Cause he just didn't expect it. And when I experienced it last summer, that was the same feeling I had. And I think that that's something that you as far as trying to build a community, we want to extend to others.
Yeah. And, eventually, if we do provide, meetups or whatnot, we'll be doing tours and stuff like that. And we'll be able to show you all around and show you a good time and get you out of your own headspace, make you do something a little bit different.
Yeah. And have like a common, goal and livelihood. And, our motto is sip, socialize, shine.
And anybody that knows me knows how much I love to talk. So I'll be happy to talk to you. It'll be fun.
We're trying to have Comedy Central write off on Talk Soup yet. So we're working on that. And the final stop in Boulder City was Max's, which we hadn't been to before. Nothing overly outrageous about it, but they did have a nice patio right there as you left the old downtown area.
Backstop has a delicious pepperoncini vodka, or they did have when I was there. I don't know what it's kind of rotating thing, I'm thinking.
Yeah, they didn't have it that day. It was a pickle one, but it was equally good. And for you conscious wallet-minded folks, such as I am and Darren is to a degree, pretty easy on the wallet.
Yeah, it was like $3 for a shot.
Yeah.
And they don't take credit cards. It's cash only.
Cash only.
Yeah, so it's definitely got a Midwesty blue-collar vibe,
Yeah. We worked our way back from Boulder City. And, of course, drink responsibly. I was having water all along the way. But we stopped at a place I hadn't been before, too, going over into the food component. And I've been told I was an idiot for never being there before. But Johnny Mac's on Boulder Highway.
Oh, Johnny Mac's. I've never been there. But if you're on the TikToks or social media, it's had a really big blow up online. So I'm sure.
For what reason?
Some of the Vegas influencers have done videos there, and so I'm sure you're going to tell me that it was very busy there. Was it?
I will state that yes, they were very busy.
Yeah, and I think that has to do with some of the social media.
Now the Golden Knights were on that night. The original location, I believe, opened in 1983, so it's been there for quite some time. Just recently, they opened one not too far away from them on the very trendy Hot Water Street in Old Henderson. But as it was described to me, they're a wings and pizza place. For my Kansas City friends that are listening, if you guys were ever in Raytown back in the day, there was a place called Funhouse Pizza that had a very funhouse element to it. It was jam-packed in there. Again, pretty friendly on the wallet, too. We shared, they called it the Henderson Special. It was $55. It was 5 pounds of wings and a single topping pizza. And the pizza, better. I've had better, but the wings were pretty delicious. They were hearty, and the thing that all the East Coast folks love is the super thick blue cheese, because when it comes out in the ramekin and you turn it upside down, it
doesn't come out. It's like a blizzard.
Exactly. It was pretty delicious.
And people that put ranch on wings need to go, they just need to go, because if you ever been to Anchor Bar in Buffalo, they do not give you a ranch with
Hush
their
your
wings.
mouth with those words.
It's got to be blue cheese, man.
That's not blue cheese is fine. Buffalo, no. I kid. But subsequently, so Johnny Mac's Pizza, and then completely been on the opposite side, more in the neighborhood. I hadn't been to Giuseppe's up on Durango in a while, and we popped in there the other night. And much like when you and I worked at McMullen's, I was saying this before we recorded. You try and save costs sometimes, and just the quality of cheese, is pretty crazy. For one time McMullen's, I mean,
what's got a lot of cheese? Me.
This whole podcast.
Yes.
But they tried to say cost savings or whatever, a different blended cheese, and it just didn't work out. And much like, in comparison, Johnny Mac's and Giuseppe's, I could tell it was just a better mozzarella. And
they have a family restaurant in there. I won't tell you what last time I was in there. I will not tell you what I was doing, because it's illegal in all 50 states. I'm just saying. But the food, yeah, didn't they have a family meal? Like you get a pizza and like pasta and like bread, like a salad for like something like $50 or something like that.
I think so. We went in there with a very specific goal, so I didn't peruse the menu too much.
They have multiple locations too, right? Don't they have one in Henderson as well?
This is true, yes. And I believe they're going to have another one out by Lake Las Vegas soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, we ought to do a day drinking thing out in Lake Las Vegas one of these days.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's in the future.
Future. Our friend and colleague, Raul, did a competition recently. I saw on the Instagrams down at a new bar called CC Speakeasy on East Charleston. I think it just took over something because it only opened in December. But he did a espresso martini competition where they had judges and everything. As you know, he's a brand ambassador for Pernod Ricard.
We need to have the Irish espresso martini. Haven't done it yet. We talked about it in a previous episode. Guinness, ounce of coffee liqueur, ounce of Jameson. Swirl it in a tin and pour it in a martini glass. So no espresso, only coffee liqueur, but it looks the part.
Yes, and so do you know the story of the espresso martini?
Refresh my memory because I don't know.
A barman in the 80s named Dick Bratzel, an Englishman at a bar in London, and when she was not as famous, but a young fashion model, Kate Moss, walked into his bar.
That's right.
And said, I want you to make me a drink that will wake me up and fuck me up. Hence, 2 parts vodka, 1 part Kahlua, a splash of simple syrup, and espresso garnished with 3 beans. That's the traditional recipe.
Traditional, yeah.
We can all have the conversations of how to make a Mai Tai too, but that's
the real deal.
That's for another conversation.
I was enthralled by the story of the Irish coffee, but that's a tale for another day, and we'll do that some other day.
Closer to St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
What else? Let's see. That's Speakeasy. So anyway, Raul had that competition, and it looks like it went swimmingly well. We want to have him on the show soon. Things we've heard. I think you took the dial last time, so
it's your turn.
It's funny things we hear. So I was telling a couple gentlemen last night that work for Amazon when I was working about a woman last year that was sitting at the bar, and she had like a stylized 70s era Wonder Woman cartoonish looking T-shirt on at the bar. And when I was looking at her, she kind of resembled Linda Carter. So I was like, what? I go, well, she's obviously a fan. And trying to be, my ever so cute self. I was trying to think of the new Wonder Woman, who was Gal Gadot, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I couldn't think of her name at the moment. So I walked over to the server several steps away, and I said, hey, what is the new Wonder Woman's name? And of course, they didn't know either. So I was like, okay, joke's ruined. But in that about face turn 2 steps back to said patron, it does hit me. And I say to her, I go, can I ask you a question? She goes, of course. I said, do you identify as Team Linda Carter or Team Gal Gadot for Wonder Woman? She goes, Linda Carter, of course. And she goes, in fact, Carter's my last name. I said, really? Do you have any relation? She goes, no, but I'm a Wonder Woman adult cause fetish model.
Nice.
Yes, and things I did not expect to hear on that day, Alex, for 100.
It's amazing what you can find out just by talking.
Yes.
And that's why I like talking so much, because there's so many things in the world that you can find out just by engaging with people.
Yes. And to that point, I think one of the new segments we're going to do is just kind of do curated reviews of bar shows that we love. I think we're going to start with Cheers. We'll probably do Always Sunny at some point, but Cheers gives us enough content for quite some time. We both recently watched season 1, episode 1, and I believe the episode was called Give Me a Ring Sometime.
Give Me a Ring Sometime, yes. Fun fact, I have actually been to the Cheers set. Not while they were in production, but after the show wrapped, they moved it to the Las Vegas Television Museum, and I don't know if it's still in Hollywood, but you could just literally get your picture sitting at the bar. So I was sitting in Norm's spot.
Okay.
And my friend Chip was sitting in Cliff Clavin's spot. But did you know this before we go any further? Norm had a nervous tick, and he used to kind of scratch the bar. And after 11 seasons?
Yes,
11 seasons, there was quite a divot taken out, probably about an inch deep into the bar itself. And it's pretty. I just found that fascinating.
Yeah, I had read that before, and I'm sure as we go further down this rabbit hole that we're going to find out a few other things.
You know what's funny? Like you could tell it was a pilot, because the character, it was a little bit rough, but still the cast is phenomenal. They were still great, but it kind of was like so old that it kind of had like a Love Boat vibe, where like like he's like Diane, like the her fiance, Diane's fiance, was just like, I can't handle this, I must leave. I'm like, what the heck? It's kind of weird.
Yeah. What was his name? Sumner Sloan.
Sumner Sloan,
the
yes.
character's name in the
Yes,
episode.
yeah.
And then very basically the setup is to meet all the characters, of course, and then, how Diane comes into the fray, and of course the fiance leaves her. Now, what you were telling me downstairs before we recorded, what was your favorite line?
Oh, Coach steals the show so many times. He's such a great character. He said, Diane asked him, "Hey, where's the bathroom?" And he's like, "Next to my bedroom, of course." And I'm like, that. So it's such a dad joke, but it's hilarious,
And then I like the throwback at the end where, like, how she's laughing at Sam. This is Diane. And a moment previously, like, Carla called in a big recipe for a table. And, Sam got sidetracked with Diane laughing at him. And obviously from episode 1, the sexual energy is already there, as we come to find out in later episodes. But when he turns around and says, "Carla, what was that order again?" And deadpan, Diane goes, 2 vodka gimlets, 1 straight up, 1 blended rocks, 1 Chivas Rocks soda, a Comfort Manhattan, hold the cherry, a white wine spritzer with a twist, and 1 Old Bushmill Irish decaf, hold the sugar. And they just had that moment. And here we go into what was one of the most iconic shows of all time.
Well, yeah, it is phenomenal. It's still funny. It's still relevant. And I think the reason Chris and I want to do these kind of reviews is like, as bartenders, it feels like home. And, we want to like have those memories, and we want to talk about things that happen on the show that happened to us in real life. So as we go along, we'll make some comparisons, I'm sure.
Hey, I got one trivia question before we start wrapping this up. I was doing some research on the LVRJ. I had a quiz for you.
Sure.
What is Nevada's state song? Is it A, Viva Las Vegas, B, Copperhead Road, or C, Home Means Nevada?
It's Home Means Nevada.
Good work, my friend. Good work.
Yeah.
One other quick thing, too. The Killers start their mini residency back at the Coliseum this week, so that should be good.
That's totally killer, dude.
Yeah, the Eagles are still at the Sphere, and they just announced that Kenny Chesney is coming in May to the Sphere.
Did you know that the Killers used to hang out at McMillan's back in the day with Darby the house band? Because one of the guys in the band dated Nancy Whiskey, who was she was a fiddle player for.
That was the bassist, Mark.
Yes.
So
yes.
Before he was Mr. Brightside, he was Mr. McMullins on stage. I think that's all we got for you guys. Thanks for listening. We're going to start putting out more content. We're working on some other ideas. So stay with us. We got some big plans.
Sip, and savor and shine. What is it?
Sip, savor, shine.
Yeah, baby.
Thanks.